on this Google Meet?
Hopefully Brooklyn will get on.
She's probably not.
Yeah, you can close your Chromebooks, put it away.
Franklin's sad because I got a better
Hey!
quizzes.
I need a paper. Close this Chromebook and pay mom too. Alright, paper. So today, make sure I'm recording. Today we're gonna start unit 3, which is, like I said, all about slope. So when you be quiet, you pay attention, yep. Okay, so slope and rate of change. This is something that will never go away. This is a huge unit next year in Algebra 1. Like, this is a big deal, and we're going to use this throughout the year. So first thing, slope is the rate of change in a relationship. Okay, so slope is how much something changes. In math, slope is talking about how much something changes on a graph. And slope or rate of change, so those are interchangeable words, slope and rate of change, is a ratio, so like a fraction of the following. The change in the y variable over the change in the x variable. Now, if you don't know which one's x and y, I probably put this down. On here, the horizontal axis is the x-axis. The vertical axis is your y-axis. Because they don't always have them labeled on here. Yeah.
I remember as X is before Y, and I know that this one goes first.
Okay, but rate of change doesn't.
Yeah, our teacher tells us this.
Yeah, so I always say x is flat. And then y, I always say y is up top. Yes, Blake.
Did I go get my water bottle?
She did.
All right, so Brendan, yes, when you're plotting points, the x always goes first, but rate of change is different, slope is different, the y actually goes first. That's why I don't like that. Because as we get higher in math, that's not always true. All right, so on a graph of a linear relationship, slope describes, and then figure out what word they want me to put in there.
Maybe you should just give us a
They wouldn't have put a specific word. No, slope describes the steepness.
Not too
That's
late.
what it was. I've never used that word for this, but steepness. So like when you think about like going up a hill or down a hill, like it's how steep it is, okay? And that's what slope does, is it tells us how steep that line is. Now, there are 4 types of slopes that we're gonna have to talk about. Now, when you run up a hill, okay, that slope is probably what? Positive. Positive. And a positive slope increases from left to right. So when you read a sentence, you read it from left to right. Like, this is important. When you read a sentence, you read it from left to right. You also read a graph from left to right. So I always picture a little guy standing down here, and if he has to run up the hill, then we know that that slope is positive, because I'm reading it from left to right. If that guy has to run down a hill, then we can say that that slope is negative. I'm a nerd. I read a math blog, and they always have like a whole like thing over like he's called Slope Dude, and he skis the slopes of the graph. So if he goes up, then he has the positive slope. He goes down, it's a negative slope. These next two are the ones that get a little bit tricky for us. This slope right here, this is a horizontal line slope. If you're walking on flat ground, what kind of slope do you think that it has?
Equal.
None.
A flat slope, and it would be
Zero.
zero slope.
I said zero.
So if you're walking on flat ground, he's got a zero slope. He doesn't have to go up or or down because he's just walking on flat ground. But the last one is our special slope. Okay, so if I read this graph,
Shut up.
if I read this graph and we think about slope dude going straight up, can he stand here on the ground and then just go straight up in the air? No, he can't. And he can't because this is a weird slope. It's called an undefined slope. And that is a word that you're going to have to remember. Okay? So, once again, our four slopes. If slope dude has to go up a hill, it's a positive slope. If he has to go down a hill, it's a negative slope. If he's walking on flat ground, it doesn't have a slope. It's a zero slope. But there's no possible way for him to stand here and just go straight up in the air. So that's the undefined slope. And like I said, that's a word you're going to have to remember. It's going to be memorized. Okay? All right, so the directions on this next part says to identify the type of slope shown by each line on the graph. So you're just going to tell me, is it a positive slope? Is it a negative slope? Is it a zero slope? Is it an undefined slope?
I didn't know it's weird. Use it positive.
Okay, well, let's follow it. So let's start with line A. Okay? I'll use some different colors here. All right, so line A. Here's slope dude on line A. He's going this way. What kind of slope is on line A?
Zero.
It's a zero slope because it doesn't go up or down, so it's a zero slope. So on line A, I'm going to put 0. Okay, let's find line B. So I'm going to trace line B here. Okay, and here's slope dude because he always starts like a sentence, left to right. What kind of slope will he go on this one? Negative, because if he reads it from left to right, he's writing it down, so it's a negative slope. All right, let's find line C. And here he is. This one's an undefined slope because there's no way that he can just go straight up in the air. So undefined. All right, and then line D, I read it from left to right.
Positive.
And he's gonna have to go up that slope, so that one's got a positive. Are there any questions about looking at them and knowing how to differentiate between the four? Okay, so it says list any strategies to help you remember the difference between a graph with an undefined and a zero slope. So we said that we read things from left to right, right? And if it's flat, then we know that it's a zero slope, because there's no incline to it. He doesn't have to go up or down. But if it's vertical, if it's up and down, this one is undefined. And the reason we know this one's undefined is because he cannot go straight up in the air. So the slope dude just can't go straight up to the air. Like, he doesn't have anything to walk on. So positive, he can walk up. Negative, he can walk down. The zero slope, he doesn't have any incline, but he can't just go straight up in the air. Yep.
It says up and down. But if it was going down, couldn't you just fall?
Yeah, but he doesn't like, but remember we read it, I guess, yeah. I mean, yes, but typically it's an undefined slope, and we're gonna eventually get to where you understand that it's an undefined slope because of a certain number. So, there's gonna be something weird about it in a minute. All right, let's do a little flip-see over here. You guys let me a minute. All right, so to find the value, so this way, we're actually gonna find the number of the slope. Is it a positive 2 slope? Is it a negative 3 slope? Is it a 1/2 slope? Is it a 3/4 slope? We're gonna be able to find that number. So to find the value of slope from a graph, you're gonna find the ratio of the vertical. So vertical is up and down. change compared to the horizontal change. So that's the left and right change. This right here is what I'm going to say the entire time. Rise over run. So if I said rise up from your seat, whoop, you're gonna go up, okay? So rise up from your seat, you're gonna look at the up and down change. If I say run, look at me at top speed right now. At top speed, okay? This is the X change, that horizontal change. No, I'm not putting that as top speed. So the rise over run. So the rise over the run, which is the change in the vertical over the change in the horizontal. To do this, you're going to choose any 2 points on the graph line. And it says to draw a right triangle to count the rise and the run. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Always reduce or simplify, so either way, whatever makes more sense to you. So like if I got 4 over 8, what would that reduce to? 1/2. If I got 6 over 3, what would that reduce to? 2. If I got 6 over 6, I would reduce that to 1. Okay. So we're always going to reduce your ratio when possible, and remember to check to see if the graph has a positive or negative slope. Y'all know that hill that's over there by the football field, like in the high school, that hill? Which Austin?
Fell down the hill, and like slid all the way down the hill from very far.
When we were conditioning for basketball, we'd have to start at the bottom of the hill, we'd have to run up the hill, make the loop, and come back like 40 times. I swear I passed out like 3,000 times. And then one time, we had to run, because for tennis, they made us do character runs to build our character. And the coach had to pick me up in his car. Because I couldn't make it. And that was when I was about 60 pounds thinner back then. And I just didn't run. I just not run.
Yeah, that one day also like just straight up slid all the way down the hill. It was so funny. And I started laughing, and he was like,
Aw.
he like broke my
Okay, so I always think that it's important to first identify what type of slope you have. They say to do that at the end, but I don't like that. So this is the part that I'll always do first. So it says the slope of the graph is positive or negative or 0 or undefined. That's the part that I want to look at first. So if slope dude is going to read this line from left to right, this is going to be what kind of slope? Positive. Positive. Does everybody understand that? So this is going to be a positive slope. So I'm going to put down here that it's a positive slope. It's not the answer, but that's the first thing that we need to identify is what type of slope is this going to be. Now, the rise of the graph, they say to choose any 2 points. So they chose these 2. Let's say that Trevor's looking at it and he wants to choose this one and this one. And then Preston's looking at it and he's like, nah, I think I want to choose this one and this one. It doesn't matter, okay? You're going to choose any 2 points that go perfectly through the corner of the box. You can't choose this one because it doesn't go perfectly through the corner. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? And you can't choose like this one right here because it doesn't go perfectly through a corner of a box. All right, so let's count the rise. So here's how I'm going to count. Okay, I'm counting from this left point to this right point. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rise from that point to that point is 4. And then I'm going to count the run. So I'm going to start where I left off and count the run. So this is 1, 2, 3. So So the rise of the line was 4, the run of the line was 3, and then I write that answer as a fraction, as rise over run. So 4 over 3. Can I reduce 4 over 3? No.
Well, we can make it 1.
No.
What?
The answer is 4/3. Something that we're gonna add on here as a note. Slope should be, okay, a whole number or a proper or improper fraction. It should never be a decimal. Slope should never be a decimal, and it should never be a mixed number, ever. The slope will always either be a whole number or a proper or improper fraction. That is a huge deal. So that's why I'm leaving that as positive 4/3. Now, if it was like 8 over 6, I would reduce that to 4/3. All right, so it says in questions 2 through 7, find the slope of the graph line. The first line has points chosen for you, but you're going to practice choosing your own 2 points on the other examples. All right, so we're going to do a few of these together. All right, so we're going to start with number 2 here. So they already have 2 points chosen for me, right here and right here. Okay, and I'm going to count my rise over run to get to this point. To this point. Now, before I start, what kind of slope do you think this problem is going to end up with? A positive, a negative, a 0, or an undefined? Positive, because it's going up from left to right. Does everybody agree? All right, so I'm going to count my rise first. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to draw a triangle to get to that other point. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to rise up 1, so that's a 1 right there. And I'm just rising up until I'm even with the other points. And then I'm going to count my run. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just counting from this point to this point. So I rose up 1, I ran 4. Any questions about how I got those numbers? All right, so then I'm going to put my answer as a positive number, because we said this is a positive slope, and I do rise over run. So which number am I going to put on the top?
1.
The 1, because I rose 1, and I ran how many? 4. Can I reduce 1/4? No, so that's my final answer is 1/4. All right, we're going to do the next one together. All right, so I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to choose any 2 points, Blake, that I want. So let's say that Isaac wants to choose this point, and he wants to choose this point. But Preston's like, no. I want to choose this point and this point. Okay? It doesn't matter. Okay? We'll do the green one, and I'm going to come back and do the red one, just to show you those the same. Okay? Now, before I start, what kind of slope is this going to be? Positive, negative, 0, or undefined?
Negative.
Negative, because my line is going down from left to right. So I'm going to start at this left point here, okay? And I'm going to count from this left point to the right point. So it looks like I'm going to go down, 1, 2. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. You can go. You can go from this one to this one, it'll still be the same. All right, so this is what kind of slope again?
Negative.
Negative, so it's going to be a negative 2/4, because it's rise over run. Does that reduce any? Does 2/4 reduce anything? What? Negative 1/2. So my answer is negative 1. All right, Preston wants to choose this point, and what other one was this one? This one. So Preston chose those 2 blue So he goes down 1, 2, and he runs 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look, it's the same. Okay, let's say Savannah chooses this one and this one. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what's negative 4 over 8 reduced to? You can choose any 2 points and it still comes out the same. Yep.
I did it over, and I got 8 points.
That's not how it works. Like,
But remember, what did we say slope is? Slope is rise over run. You did run over rise. Slope is always rise over run. All right, number 4. I'm gonna tell you all this. This is one thing we haven't talked about. You have to pay attention to the intervals. Does anybody know what an interval is? What's an interval?
I don't know.
All right, let's hold Lucas try.
The numbers on the side of the graph.
So let's look at this one. What is this one counting by?
1.
1. Look at the Y's. What's it counting by?
3.
3. So you always have to pay attention to the intervals when you go to count. These were all 1, so it didn't matter. All right, so let's look at this one. What kind of slope is this one going to be?
Positive.
Positive. All right, and I'm going to look for a point that goes perfectly through a corner. So how about that one and this one? Okay. There's dots on there. Your dog. All right, so I'm going to look at it and I'm going to count rise over run. But remember, when I count my rise, what am I counting by?
3.
3s. Okay? So here I go. This is 9 and 12. So 3, 6, 9. Is everybody okay with that? This is my 3. So 3, 6, 9. Okay, and then this one, 1, 2. So I went 2 spots. And what kind of slope is this one?
Positive.
Positive. So I do the rise. Blake, what's the rise number?
9.
9 over the run number, which is 2. Can that reduce any?
No.
No, so my slope is positive 9 over 2. All right, why don't you all try these 3? You all can do them.
This hurts my brain.
All right, shh. Huh? No, because 9 over 2 doesn't reduce by anything. But even though there's negative numbers on these 3 graphs, that has nothing to do with you counting.
What about that undefined?
The negatives have nothing to do with the counting. So you just count. Don't worry about the negatives. The only time you're going to put a negative out front of it is when it's a negative slope.
Oh my God.
Well, this one's okay, so maybe like this one. Perfectly goes through corner. For this one. So just make sure that it perfectly goes through. We're gonna be cats and dogs.
Well, that's the,
Trevor picked
I was ready. He did one.
Oh my God, is Trevor not wearing a hair gel? Oh my God. I'm choking at chicken.
What the heck? What are you eating your cane?
Grabbing the eggs. Actors like that, grabbing the eggs. Too late.
Okay, guys. Alright. Alright, so on this one, like, you could choose this point here, this point here. The only other point that you can even choose on this one is this one right here. So those would be the only three that you could have chosen. Will this be a positive or a negative? Positive because it's going up. So I'm gonna go up here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3. So it's a positive slope, and I do the rise over the run. And that does not reduce, so 4/3. Which majority of you all got that perfect. All right, number 6. Is this one positive, negative, 0, or undefined?
Undefined.
And I know it's undefined because it's a vertical line. It's straight up and down, and slope dude can't run straight up and down. So I just put undefined. Yeah.
You're wrong.
On this one?
Yeah.
But look at your line, where's it going? It's going up. Okay. Guys. All right, and then number 7, is that one positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative because it's going down, but here's something that a lot of you all did not notice. This is counting by ones, but this is counting by twos. Okay? So when I walked around, the majority of you all chose this one and this one, which is fine. You could have chose this one and this one. You could have chose this one and this one. You could have chose this one and this one, but because they all perfectly go through a corner. Okay, now I'm gonna count my rise over my run. So I'm gonna go rise, but I'm going down, and this is 0 to 2, so it went down 2. And then I ran 1.
What?
Okay, so listen, what kind of slope is this one?
Negative.
Negative. So it's a negative 2 over 1. And 2 over 1 simplifies to just negative 2. And that's a negative slope because it's going down from left to right. Okay. We're gonna do, what time is it? We got 10. Okay, perfect.
Why? Look at the clock.
Yeah. All right, so there are 2 problems on the back of this, so make sure that you look at the back, and we're gonna talk about a couple of these.
It's Wednesday.
Trevor really got pushed.
All right.
Why do you stand up and pass the ball?
Yeah, we should get that.
All
right, guys. All right, guys, knock it off. Knock it off. Okay, so, alright, so on this homework, so the vertical change on a graph. The vertical change on a graph is defined as positive, undefined, rise, zero, negative, or rise. Rise. The vertical change is rise, yep.
I don't like the line, that's the word. That's.
Okay. Alright, so this one is F because it's the rise. Alright, what about the horizontal change? What do we call that?
I never got a picture of
Alright, so the horizontal change is called the run. Alright, the slope of a horizontal line will always be what?
0.
0 because it's a flat line. Alright, what about the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. A graph with a blank slope increases from left to right. Positive. And then that leaves us with a graph with a blank slope that decreases is negative. Okay? All right, let's look at part 2. It says each of the line segments in the word math are numbered in the graph below. Find the slope of each line segment. This is gonna make me.
Lose my mind.
The only thing that's making me lose my mind are people that keep talking when I didn't ask them to talk. All right, so line 1. So here's line 1. This is what kind of line? Undefined because it's a vertical line. We can't count the slope of an undefined line. So I'll just put undefined on line 1. Okay, then we're going to look at line 2. What kind of slope do you assume that line 2 will be? Positive, negative, 0, or undefined? Negative because it's going down from left to right, and you're going to count. So I'm going to go down from this one to this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went down 4. And I'm going to run 1, 2, 3. So what will the slope be for a line that's going down? So negative.
-4.
And the slope is rise and run, so it's negative 4/3. Okay, this one, line 3. So I'm going from this point to this point. I'm gonna look at it. This is what kind of slope? Positive because it's going up. And I'm gonna count from this bottom point to this top point. So I'm gonna go up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna run 1, 2, 3. We said that slope was positive, so what would the slope of line 3 be? Positive 4/3. All right, and what about line number 4? Undefined because it's another vertical line. Do you all understand what you're doing on this section?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you all to finish that section, and then there's 2 problems on the back. And just make sure you watch your intervals on the back. Yep, so finish them. Yeah, you're going to do the rest of them by yourself now.